So I remember learning pretty early on that a Christian should give a certain percentage of their income. I was taught that you should give 10% of your income plus some sort of offering. They called it tithes and offering. Tithes was 10% and offering was extra. Usually I was encouraged to give about 5% extra offering, but this was a little more subjective, more based on needs. A lot of times a church would ask for specific things. Oh, we need to pay a bill for this. Oh, we need to make a payment toward the building. Oh, we want to get a new building, so we're saving up for this. And missionaries would come in and ask for money specifically. So you might save up some of your offerings for those special things and give a little bit more that month or a little bit less the next month. But usually for me, this ended up being about 15% of my income. I remember being taught that that money, if you didn't give it to the church, would go somewhere else. And God would take his money. That money was already God's, and it was your responsibility to give it to him. And if you didn't, God would find a way to take it from you in another way. I remember being taught that specifically. So, you know, even though I wanted to give to a cause that I cared about, I felt it was important since I spent so much of my time at church to give. I felt very obligated to give the amount they suggested, and sometimes even more, because I figured when I was having financial difficulties, emotional difficulties, college difficulties, anything, I figured if I gave more money that God would give me what I needed for that situation, that God would bless my faith. I remember this song we used to sing during offering, you know, give and it will come back to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. That song, give and it will come back to you, but upgraded in a way. It was almost like you're making an investment. I remember that that phrase being used at least once, if not more times. You're making an investment into the kingdom of God. And you know, another motivation they used is saying, you know, you're storing up treasures in heaven. You know, where your treasures are, there shall your heart be also. So, you know, you give your money about, you know, to what you care about. And if you care about God, you'll give your money to God, which means you'll give your money to the church. I remember one of my pastors telling me that one of the first questions he asked when people had financial problems was, do you pay your tithes and offerings? And he said that if they said no, that was his first advice to them. Pay your tithes and offerings, no matter what their situation, really. Now we had these envelopes that we filled out, you know, so they knew who gave what. And we got statements about once a year around tax season about how much we gave. And I was never scolded. Well, I don't think there was a time that I wasn't giving tithes and offerings, but I was never scolded for not giving money. But I remember, I think it was my sophomore year of college, when my dad saw the statement of how much money I gave to the church, because my dad did my taxes every year. He yelled at me. He was mad. He was like, Stephanie, you can't afford this. You can't afford to give this much money to the church. And I basically ignored him. I never wondered once where the money went. I never wondered why they preached that. I figured they preached it because it was in the Bible. And I figured that the money went to where they needed it. And if I was to trust God's elect, God's authority, God's church, if I really trusted them, I didn't need to know where the money went. I felt like they were giving me a free service. They weren't making me pay at the door, and I just wanted to make God happy at the time.